Before now, mysteries had never been discussed or uncovered. But now, Contumacious Ant and Atreya are back for a second season. The MO Podcast.
Hello and welcome all into the MO Podcast. As usual, you're here with me, Contumacious Ant, and my lovely co-host,
Atreya.
And today we are going to be talking about cryptids and urban legends and the myths that surround them. I'm going to be talking about the Chupacabra. And what are you going to be talking about, Atreya?
I am going to be talking about Amphirliath Moor.
Sounds like a mouthful.
I told Dave that's what I was talking about, and he said, "Oh yeah, the French widow." I was like, "No, that's not what that is. It's actually Scottish Gaelic. It's nothing even remotely French. It's actually the Grey Man of Ben MacDhui."
Ah, right. Now you've said it like that, I kind of know who he is. Yeah.
French widow.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, bless him, at least
Love
he had
it.
a guess.
He did. It was a totally wrong guess, even the wrong country, but it was a guess.
Yeah, I'd call that taking an interest, but
True.
there you go. Fine, then. Do you want to go first?
Sure.
Intrigue us with the French widow?
Yeah, the French widow. I mean, I think he was getting confused maybe it's with the Scottish widow, you know, the bank.
Do you know what? That has actually, it's just dropped for me there now. As soon as the French widow, then I was like, does he not
Scottish
mean
widow.
that advert with
Yeah. Yeah, with the woman in the black
black.
cape. Yeah, that's where he's getting confused. It's good effort, though.
Yeah.
So, no, Amphirliath Moor. I probably said that totally wrong, but that is Scottish Gaelic for the Grey Man of Ben MacDhui, which is the second highest mountain in the British Isles, and it's in the Eastern Highlands of Scotland in the Cairngorms. So the legend is that people who walk up near the summit or passes around the summit hear these footsteps behind them, and they're always on their own, and every time they turn around the footsteps stop. So it's quite well known in Scottish folklore. Apparently, the very, very few people that have actually turned around and seen whatever is following them have seen a very tall figure covered in short hair with an ape-like head,
Okay.
or a 10-foot tall humanoid which is olive-skinned with long arms. I feel like those two are very different things to see.
Yeah, and I feel like they're both not native to the
Yeah.
Highlands.
I kind of read it and I was like, oh, okay, so they're seeing Slender Man, basically. And then I was like, so one is seeing a giant monkey and the other is basically seeing a tanned alien. It's like, those are so different. Like,
Yeah.
very, very different. Apparently, people can hear the sound of footsteps and it's always in gravel and it's always just out of sight. And actually, the summits of the mountain is basically like all loose rocks. So if somebody was walking behind you, it probably would sound like loose gravel. Some people have heard a deep voice speaking in Gaelic. But no matter what anybody's seen or heard, they've always, on every account, been accompanied by a feeling of unease or apprehension or just sheer shit-your-pants terror. People have actually taken photos of some of the footprints that they've found that they thought were following them, but there's never been anything like decisive come from these footprints. And actually the sightings date back as far as 1791. However, the very first recorded sighting was by this bloke who was actually a really well thought of climber, and he was called J. Norman Colley. And this happened to him in 1891, but he actually didn't report it until 1925 when he was just starting out in 1891, and by 1925 he was quite well known in his field and he was quite well respected. So I think he didn't want to tell anybody about it when it had first happened because he was kind of working his way up to getting
He wanted to at least have his foot in the door kind of thing, yeah.
So he was climbing the mountain, and he said, I began to think I heard something else than my own footsteps. It was as if someone was walking behind me, but taking steps that were 3 or 4 times the length of my own. He then said he was seized with terror and he fled. As you would. He didn't see anything, so he ran away.
Yeah. I mean, if he's taking steps 3 or 4 times more than his own, surely he would have been caught up to quite fast.
No. Well, yeah. You would think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, unless, they were really far behind.
And he had really good
hearing.
Yeah, could be.
So he was really well respected. So that is that is the most famous account, and it is quite a detailed account as well. Like I've just summarised because it's all quite in depth. But in 1904, there was another climber called Hugh D Welsh, who heard an unexplained slurring sound in footsteps behind him near the summit. Didn't mention anything else on that. That was as far as that went. Then you had 1945. There was a Peter Densham, who was a mountaineer, and he was a rescue worker. He heard a crunching noise behind him. I mean, that's as much as we get with that one.
These are really in depth. These ones, aren't they? Jeez.
In 1948, we've got a Richard Freyr, who was also a climber, and he said he felt a sense of a presence, utterly abstract but intensely real, and he heard a high singing note. 1958, we had Alexander Chunian, who was a naturalist. He was quite a famous naturalist as well. He saw a swirling mist at the summit that enveloped the mountain. There was a dark, oppressive atmosphere. There was loud footsteps, and a strange shape actually charged at him. He shot it 3 times. It did absolutely bot all, and so he ran away.
Is he not just describing like a landslide there?
Possibly.
Because there's a swirling mist, and then something's coming towards him in the dark.
Fog,
it's
innit?
just, yeah.
So the man I mentioned before, Richard Freyr, the climber, people, after he spoke about his experience up there, people came to him with their experiences. So this unknown man in the 1940s had reported to Richard Freyr that he'd been camping close to the summit, and he heard movement outside his tent. And when he unzipped his tent and went out to have a look, he saw a large, broad-shouldered, brownish humanoid, 20 feet tall, which circled the camp and then walked away. That's very different from 10 feet tall, I'm just saying.
Well, it's twice the size. That's
Yes.
just maths right there.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a big difference. So I also found this this other well-respected sighting, which was by a man called Alexander Callas. He was a chemist and he was a mountaineer, and he was with his brother on the mountain, and they were looking for crystals. Something to do with chemistry, I guess, maybe?
Okay. Crystals as in, like...
As in, like, mountain crystals?
Okay. That's, yeah.
I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. Don't know what other kind of crystals are on a mountain, to be honest.
Healing crystals?
I know he was quite, like, well-respected, but I kind of read it and thought,
Not anymore.
Sounds like he runs a hippie shop, right?
Yeah. Did he have a bong with him as well?
Well, him and his brother apparently noticed a large figure approaching them before disappearing. So then we had an unsighted sighting. Nobody knows where it came from, but and it wasn't on the mountain, but apparently in the forests near Aberdeen, there's a lot of the same sightings and the same sounds. So the theory is that this thing, whatever it is, kind of moves. Like, I don't know, maybe it just decides that the mountain's a day thing and it quite fancies hiking. And then on a night, it goes back home to the forest. But anyway, there was these 3 men and they were in a forest near Aberdeen, and they saw a large creature that looked like a man. so is it a creature or is it a man, that chased their car trying to get in, and they were going at speeds of 45 miles an hour.
I mean, Aberdeen, though, innit? Really?
I mean, unless it was Usain Bolt. Who's getting in there? Who can run at 45 mile an hour?
I mean, maybe they had McEwens in the back of the car, and
or maybe it was a skateboarder that had just hooked onto the back. You know,
Martin McFly in it.
Yeah, my friends used to do that at college all the time. So this one is my favourite though. Okay, this was the very first. This guy was a poet, right? And he wrote a poem about his experience, and it wasn't like
is it terrible?
Well, it's, to be honest, it was a pretty crappy poem, but it wasn't recorded as an official sighting because he just kind of covered it under the guise of a poem. So
too much rhyming. This isn't real. Too much rhyming in it.
There wasn't even any rhyming.
Oh, it's one of them poems. It's not.
It's one of those. Exactly.
It
wasn't even a limerick. Anything other than a limerick for me is not poetry.
Dr. Zeus will be turning in his grave.
So this guy, he was called James Hogg, and this was 1791. So this was quite substantially before J. Norman Colley's sighting. So this guy, he was a poet that was tending sheep. So I guess work was hard.
So
No one was buying his poems, so he had to tend sheep.
Why wasn't he a shepherd who's a poet in his spare time?
You would think that would make more sense, right?
What pays the bills, mate?
So he was tending sheep, right? And he saw this creature when he looked around. And it was 30 feet high. So we're getting bigger.
Jesus wept.
It was 30 feet high, right? And he was absolutely shit your pants terrified. And he ran away. And then the next day, he went back up to check on his sheep, which he just basically left
them
to die. Yeah. He went up. The sheep were all just like chewing grass. Like, I don't know what the fuss is about, really, dickhead. And he saw the same shadow again. And then he noticed that when he raised his hand, that the creature raised its hand. And when he took his hat off, the creature took its hat off.
It's got a hat now.
And he realised that actually it was just his shadow the whole time.
Are you for real?
It was just his shadow.
No wonder he's not making any money selling poetry. Jeez. What? Oh, can he even write?
I love that. But at least he was honest. At least he didn't. He wasn't like, oh yeah, I saw this massive creature up on Ben MacDhui, and it came at me and the sheep, and it was horrifying. At least he was like, and then it turned out to be my shadow. It sounds like a pub story, doesn't it?
Yeah. You'd think as he was running away, he'd be shitting himself because it was chasing him.
Running after him.
It's coming after him.
So that kind of it gives an explanation. So there's this thing, right? It's an optical illusion that's quite well known, and it's called Brocken Spectre. And it's an optical illusion, and when the sun is at a particular angle, it kind of shines on the cloud, and in certain atmospheric conditions, basically the person's shadow is cast onto a cloud bank around them, and it basically acts like a projector, so it makes their own shadow this extra large thing that looks like it's a creature like near them.
Yeah.
But it's not, it's just their shadow. So basically a lot of people were saying that James Hogg kind of had it right, that everybody who's seeing this thing is just basically seeing their shadow. But given that a lot of people don't see anything, they just hear these footsteps, that doesn't explain the footsteps. So then we have explanations like exhaustion, which causes hallucination, lack of oxygen, you're up really high, you've got oxygen deprivation, you're hallucinating, you're hearing things. Isolation, when your brain, you're sensory deprived, and your brain starts conjuring things up to make it seem like you're less alone.
Yeah.
Then you've got you know, the infrasound thing that they tried to explain the Dyatlov Pass incident off as. So you've got that. So when the infrasound created by, you know, wind passing through the mountains enters your brain, it affects your brain, it causes hallucinations, it causes paranoia. So some people were saying that it could be that. The footprints that people found can be alleged to precipitation. I'm not sure how precipitation forms.
How heavy is the rain?
Yeah. But as far as the like footfalls and the footsteps go, so because the temperature is constantly fluctuating on the mountain, it causes the ice and rocks to split and crack, which causes some to become dislodged, and then, you know, they fall down the mountain. And as the little rocks are falling down the mountain, it could sound like footsteps.
Yeah.
But then you've got the fringe people who say that this...
Your lot.
My lot, yes. Good friends of mine, thank you. My fringe people who say that the grey man is actually the missing link.
Oh, God, of course.
He's an undiscovered species. I mean, J. Norman Collie himself was supposedly, an occult believer. He was quite heavily into the occult. And then apparently there's this group called the Atreya Society. Have you heard of them?
No.
Well, they're one of those, you know.
Yeah, one of those.
Yeah, one of those. I don't even need to explain. It's one of those.
We all know what you mean.
And
crystals.
Yeah, they're one of those, and they think, you know, you ever seen Dude, Where's My Car? You know, the people that dress in bubble wrap and they go Zoltan. I always think it's them. It's like them. Well, the Atreya Society believe that one of the major alien spacecraft bases is inside Ben MacDhui, and all of these sightings are actually aliens.
Of course. I mean,
just like to follow hikers for the crack.
Yeah, why not? I mean, they've got to get their exercise in. Even during lockdown, you get one a day.
You do.
I mean, aliens will have to do it as well at some point. And if they're not shape-shifting lizards and they're living in Ben MacDhui, you know, they've got to...
So there is a lot of theories. I would like to think that there's some kind of ghost. I think there was some kind of folklore tale that Scottish families used to tell their kids about a giant that got killed in the mountains or something, and his ghost is haunting the mountain summit. That would be amazing. Like, that's a proper cool story. But it's likely that it's probably rock falls and optical illusions and stuff. But it would be fucking awesome if it was a giant ghost. Especially if it was a 30-foot giant ghost wearing a hat.
Yeah. I mean, also it could just be Scotch mist, you know, because it's quite common up there. Mist, and then you know, with the whole temperature changing, that's kind of what creates mist, and then you've got precipitation there, which can be attributing.
But then, how do you explain the same sightings and footsteps in the forest? So that's the only bit that, like, for me is like, okay. So it's like they kind of compare the Grey Man to be like Scotland's Yeti, because it's in the forest like Bigfoot, and it's in the mountains like the Yeti, and it's I don't know. Like, I can understand the rock falls and that on the mountain and the mist on the mountain, but I can't understand it in the forest. And also, you think these people who like saw this creature attached to their car chasing them at 45 mile an hour, surely they'd be able to recognize if it was a bloke,
get a decent look at it.
You think if it was a bloke, they'd be like, this weird bloke just chased our car when it was going 45 mile an hour.
Maybe his tie was stuck in the window or something in the door, and they were just dragging a dead body.
Somebody had played a prank and super glued his hand to the car.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one may be a little bit made up there, really.
Do you think they'd all been hitting the whiskey a bit hard?
Yeah, amongst other things.
But But there you go. There's a bit of Scottish folklore for you.
Well, that was...
I'd never heard about that one before, so...
I think it's... I seem to be... When you've said it, I seem to be getting... I mean, I know it's Hound of the Baskervilles, but Sherlock Holmes kind of vibe from it.
Yeah, I think Arthur Conan Doyle did actually write a story similar to this. I'm fairly sure I read that in my research. He did write a story about it.
I think I remember seeing a film version of it, maybe, because I remember the mist and the footsteps and turning round. And I think it was with Sherlock Holmes, actually.
Probably was.
The old school actor was called Alfred.
I can't remember.
Anyway,
I feel like I should have looked into it though. I do have the complete works of Sherlock Holmes. I should probably, well, not the complete works of Sherlock Holmes, but the complete stories of Sherlock Holmes. And I didn't even think to look, to be honest.
No. I mean, it just something. I remember seeing something years ago about it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of that kind of vibe as well. But Hound of the Baskervilles is that kind of vibe as well, up on the moors with something following you, kind of thing. And the Dartmouth hairy hands, isn't it?
And the Three Crowns of East Anglia. That's all the kind of same thing, isn't it? It's like on the mountains in the mist, and England will fall, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's just stories that they tell the children.
Yeah.
But you never know. There could be a grey man up in their hills and forests.
Yeah.
But there's not.
Luckily, I will never make it up there because there's a slight incline from my house to the pub, and I'm knackered by the time I get there. So there's absolutely no way I'm going to make it up a mountain. Especially not the second highest in the British Isles. I got no chance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not agreeing with you, but I can't really end that sentence, so...
So...
Chupacabra, you say?
You researched Chupacabra, yes.
So, yeah, this... I don't know why I'm so fascinated with it, but it's just... I don't know, there's something about it. Anyway, so...
They're so cute.
Yeah. So this in the cryptid world, this is kind of the new kid on the block. This is it was only first reported in 1995.
Really?
And yeah, that was kind of the first report of it was in 1995. It's the attacks attributed in I think 1978 in Mexico to the Chupacabra, but the word Chupacabra, which means goat sucker in Spanish, which I don't know why it sucks off goats, but there you go. It's one of them.
Maybe it wasn't a goat. Maybe it's an old goat, that kind of sugar daddy. Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's just a lonely farmer. But yeah, so the word Chupacabra means goat sucker, and that's attributed to the fact that it actually killed farm animals and it would suck their blood. There was in most of the deaths, the deaths of the animals that were found, there was puncture marks in these animals, and it was a Puerto Rican comedian who actually came up with the name Chupacabra, and that's attributed to him. I don't have his name, so I'm very sorry. I should have wrote that down. So, in March of 1995 in Puerto Rico, 8 sheep were found dead with puncture marks in their chest, and they were apparently drained of all blood. Now, later on in August of 1995, Madeline Dolientino claimed that she saw the beast in her hometown in Puerto Rico of Canovanas, and she went on to describe what she said was a 3-foot high bipedal creature with spines protruding from its back.
Right.
And now, just to note that there are actually 2 types of Chupacabra. One is a reptilian. Here we go again.
You fucking love these, don't you?
So the reptilian ones, which have the spines coming out the back, they're bipedal. They're not human-like, but they walk upright, kind of thing. And these are where the first reports came from. These were attributed to these kind. And then there's a second kind, which is they're dog-like. They also go by the name Texas Blue Dogs.
Yeah, those are the ones I've seen.
Yeah, so they're pretty much canine, and yeah, they're dogs, wild dogs, basically. But they don't really have a genus, so they're kind of been lumped in. In Puerto Rico, there were 150 farm animals and pets reported to be killed and bled dry, which is when Madeline saw this creature. Now, the mayor of Canovanas, Jose Roman Soto Riviera, or as he's locally known, Chemo Soto. Don't know why, but that's how he's known.
Because he saw the Lone Ranger and was like, I want to be like Kemosabe, but my own thing.
Yeah, he was the mayor, and he organised local groups to patrol the areas, and he would be seen on the back of a truck, on the back of a flatbed, with a shotgun, marshalling all these troops.
Can you imagine if Sadiq Khan decided to do that?
The thing is, as well, is that he was one of the longest serving mayors in Puerto Rico, because
he was fucking cool.
I think was it 2012? He got in 1992. And I think in 2012, he was succeeded by his daughter, and he was going to retire, but now he wants to run for Senate in Puerto Rico. So he's still going, and he's still kicking. But yeah, he'd be marshalling these troops with a shotgun, like, let's get the chupacabras.
Why was there not their first thought, like, puncture wounds and it's drained of blood? Oh my God, we've been set on by vampires. Why was that not a thing?
I don't really know, to be honest with you. Maybe they didn't kind of have vampires.
I mean, what year did you say this was?
1995.
Well then, yeah, they definitely had vampires.
I mean,
but they straight away were like, what could this be? Like, I would definitely go vampires or aliens.
I think more that they went a lot more with Madeline's kind of description of it, and they went, why would she tell a lie?
But this was after she saw that, though.
So this was after when all this happened. So this was in August of 1995. The first incident happened in March of 1995, and there was 8 sheep, and they just had puncture marks on their chest, and they were drained of blood, and they didn't see anything happening in the local area. There's not that many predators that would have made these kind of marks, kind of thing. And then August, 6 months later, this woman has seen this creature, and then 150 animals are dead with the same kind of thing. So they've just gone, oh, well, it's got to be this, because it can't be any other thing in the world.
150 animals, though?
Allegedly, there's not really much.
So then, if they're saying that it was like, if it was a chupacabra, then it would have to be a pack, unless it's just one really, really hungry chupacabra.
Well, yeah, you see, they didn't actually know what it was. They're just going off this eyewitness account of it. So, I mean, I don't blame the mayor for getting on the back of his truck and rallying the troops as it was. But yeah, we'll get to why.
Okay.
And how of all that is, it's a bit questionable, let's say.
Okay.
And then in the early 2000s, there was a spate of sightings in the south of the USA, mainly in Texas and New Mexico, and in Mexico itself. And this was the blue dog version. Now, this is probably ones that you've all kind of seen the videos, because it's been caught on video quite a lot. So it's described as a hairless dog-like creature with 3 toes and a pronounced overbite. It's been responsible for farm killings and, again, draining the blood. The Texas variety has been filmed, and there have been bodies have been sent off and tested. There was one couple that I did see, and like they pop up on local news in America, and one couple did see and kind of kept a baby chupacabra in a cage.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're filming it and talking about it, and it's just a coyote in a cage, really.
Aww.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, there's bodies that have been found, and they have actually been tested. The majority of the tests, they've actually found that it's a coyote and a wolf, maybe a dog hybrid. There's nothing to say that this is a new animal. It's just something out there. Now, the reason why people think it's a different kind of thing is because all these sightings, the coyotes have had mange.
Right.
So they've had mange, it's for humans, it's fine. It's not that bad of a thing. You just get a little rash, a little scratch. But for dogs, it can be fatal. Canine animals, it can be fatal. What it is it's like mites burrowing into the top layer of skin.
Ooh.
And yeah, so you start itching, and you start itching. And if you're a dog, well, I mean, I don't know, I can't speak for dogs, but with a dog, it's got hair. So if they're scratching, their hair's going to come out because they're scratching the hair.
Yeah.
And a lot of these chupacabras have got hair loss, and they're bald or nearly bald, and because of the mite gets under the skin, it causes the skin to turn either red or black.
Oh.
So when you see a dog, or what you imagine a coyote to be, when you see a chupacabra in these videos, it's something that's completely different to what you would imagine. So, I mean, you can kind of assume that this is where these people who have found them, who've found the bodies, who have seen these things, they're not used to seeing it. It's something different, so why not go and call it a chupacabra?
A goat sucker.
Yeah. I mean, with that as well, it's quite easy to explain away. Most predators, like most canine predators, will bite the neck of their prey to either break the neck or incapacitate it. Mm-hmm. And the prey actually dies of internal bleeding. So that's probably where they get the puncture marks from, because the canines have gone in and broke the neck.
And then just left it and not ripped the corpse up, though?
Well, yeah, because sometimes just get bloodlust. I've seen dogs get bloodlust, and it's not nice.
What, just drain it dry?
This is the thing.
How do they manage that?
They don't actually drain it dry. So, because of something called lividity, which basically what happens when something dies, or within half an hour to an hour of the heart stopping, all the blood will start sinking to the lowest point on the body.
Yeah.
So, let's say if it's a sheep and it's died on its left-hand side, it's lay on the floor on its left-hand side, after it's died, all the blood will pour down onto the left-hand side.
Yeah, got you.
So if you're a farmer and you come across and cut the right-hand side open, which is this side that's exposed to you, that you can see, and there's no blood in there, then you'd be going, and you see puncture marks, you're going to go,
but it's actually just all
vampires.
Gravity's pulled it all down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then they've rather than correct the story and go, you know what, it's me, I'm a dickhead, because it's not my shadow, but they just go with that and say, so that's how you can easily explain that away. Now, to explain away the Puerto Rico, the reptile kind of version of it, 1995, the film Species came out. And
you're gonna do the Roswell thing, aren't you? Where everyone that fucking had the whole thing where they were like, I saw spaceships flying over Roswell, and the police were like, no, you didn't. There was just loads of movies out at the time about spaceships, and your imagination played tricks on you. Are you going to do that thing?
I mean, I don't need to now, because you've done it. But in 1995, the film Species came out, and if anyone remembers it, it had Natasha Hendrickson in it, in which she got her boobs out. Apart from that, I don't remember it. But
wow,
the way that Madeline described the actual Chupacabra was the way that Natasha Hendrickson's character appeared in the film, down to the spikes coming out of her back. Maybe it's coincidence, maybe, but
you're saying she saw the movie and she'd be tripping.
She actually did admit to seeing the movie a week before she had this sighting. In fairness, Jurassic Park came out in 1990 and The Lost World came out in 1995, and I do remember, although it deals with Costa Rica, I do remember that there's, I think it's in The Lost World, which I just can't remember. I couldn't find it to be able to say, but I do remember that there's a lizard that goes into maternity ward, and it's like literally the first couple of pages of the book, and it starts eating a baby, and yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, and the midwife comes in and sees it, and there's kind of they say it's a local thing. Obviously, it's dinosaurs coming from the island, but they kind of say it's a local thing, and they put it down to cot death, but it happens quite a lot. And I think it's kind of one of them that it's as well being described in these places, and you kind of go, oh, maybe I could have.
All this time, if people had just been more observant to realise that cot death had been caused by dinosaurs breaking into their children's rooms at night.
Exactly. I mean, Ammon's got a lot to answer for.
That was my first thought, though, when you said that the reptile one, and you said that they had like 3 claws and a pronounced overbite. My very first thought was, well, it was probably a dinosaur, though.
Well,
right?
yeah.
It definitely wasn't a coyote with mange. It was most definitely likely
Indeed, old school dinosaur. But alas.
Yeah. If it was a really little one, it could have been Struthia mimus, though, because that's a little bit like that. But it's pretty dinky. It's not very scary. Unless you're the guy in Jurassic Park who died in the river after being eaten alive by them.
Dennis Nerdy.
Yes.
The computer guy, yeah.
Yes. He deserved it.
Well, he did. He was a right one.
He was a right one.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, with Costa Rica, Puerto Rico as well, I mean, fair enough. There's a massive variety of habitats on the island, and it's so diverse with the plant life and the animal species. There's species that are found nowhere on Earth, only there. So there could be an animal, a creature that we do not know about there.
A dinosaur.
Dinosaur, it could be, but there's not any mammals on the island, so I think that's...
Except for the dinosaurs.
Well, exactly, but they're not mammals, so...
Oh, well, they don't count as
yeah,
mammals.
so I think that's... I don't know if that's why it was described as reptilian, because there are no native mammals there, but she basically saw the film Species and then went, yeah, that's happening. I've seen that with my own eyes.
You don't know what she saw. You weren't there. You don't eat her cereal.
Yeah, that is so true. That is so true. I can only go off on the facts that are in front of me, and
I want to believe she saw a dinosaur.
It would be cool, but...
And or a chupacabra. Well, it would be cooler if chupacabras were dinosaurs.
Maybe that's what they all did back in the Jurassic Age, just sucked off goats.
Well, the goats had the last laugh, didn't they? Because they're still going now.
Well, exactly, yeah. Suck me off now, dinosaur. Now there's a phrase I never thought I'd use.
T-Rex comes out of the shadows like, well, if you insist.
Well, hello. Oh God. Yeah. So I mean, it's not true. I don't really believe there's such a thing as chupacabras. They're easily explained away, to be honest. I mean that the coyotes with mange are clearly, you can actually see, and they look canine in the videos, and it's just because.
Do you see that police video though, where the police said that they caught video dash cam footage of a chupacabra? They chased it down the road. That doesn't look like a dog or a coyote. It doesn't. It looks like one of them devil dogs that a Devil May Cry. It doesn't look like a dog or a coyote. Now,
I mean, I'm the first to put my hands up and say I don't like dogs, but I know what a dog looks like, and it looks like a fucking dog. I'm sorry, but it's bounding a lot. Well, not bounding, but it's walking like a dog. If it walks like a dog, barks like a dog, call it a chupacabra.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm going to do. A chupacabra or a dinosaur? I'm not going to say it's a dog.
Well, did you hear the police officers speak?
I didn't, to be honest.
Well, I think that's where you're missing out then. And once you hear them speak, you'll go, well, that's probably why they thought it was a chupacabra.
Oh, were they high?
No, they was like fucking Cousin Merle.
Oh, Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah, jeez.
Oh, right, okay.
I mean, I don't think they had 6 teeth between them. They had more fingers than they had teeth.
Sounds like the mechanics that usually repair my car for cheap. They're canny guys, but they wear dungarees, hats, and they only have six teeth between them. But they're cheap, so I keep going back.
Yeah, why not? Why not? I mean, that's it. You know, I mean, yeah, they don't go to the dentist, do they? So they don't have them bills.
So you don't believe in chupacabra? Is that what you're saying?
No. Yeah, not in the. I mean, no.
Dogs aren't bipedal.
Yeah, but in that video, that wasn't bipedal.
No, but plenty of people have. There've been plenty of sightings and eyewitness accounts of bipedal chupacabras. I mean, dogs can go on their back legs, but usually only if there's some kind of treat in it for them. I've never seen one just walk down the road cash like it's getting the paper on 2 legs.
I mean, no, obviously, unless it's Scooby-Doo.
Me and my people would like to represent the chupacabra right now.
Yeah, I'd love to believe that there's some kind of unknown animal out there in Puerto Rico that's. I really don't want to say sucking off goats again, but
those goats never knew how good they had
exactly.
until he came along.
Yeah.
The goats pre-1995 were they were so sad, depressed all the time. Now goats are full of life. They got it good. They're like, hell boy, yeah, we're goats and we love it.
It's so chill now. I mean, Jesus,
yeah.
They were butting everything. Pre-95, they were butting everything, eating garbage cans. It was a mess out there.
Now they're just on their backs, yay. Leg crossed, fagging them out.
Yeah, cigarettes, yeah. I'd like to believe that there's something out there like that, but
I feel like the chupacabras are the victims in this, really.
Well,
they're basically sex slaves.
Yeah, maybe that's what...
Unless they do it for fun.
Does anyone? Well, there you go. You see,
it's usually only the premise of somebody else doing the hoovering. It's call for that, right?
Yeah, it's that's what it is. Give and take.
The goats need hoovering.
Maybe.
Give and take. All right, okay.
No. Anyway, right.
Yeah, you still do your own laundry.
Yeah, well, I've had my ribs removed, haven't I? So, doing a prince up in here.
Oh, lordy, there's an image that'll keep me up at night, and not in a good way.
I don't even like touching it. I'd never put one in my mouth. We seem to have digressed a little bit here.
We have. Sorry, it's my fault.
It's filth. But yeah, no. No, they're coyotes with...
Mange.
Mange. Thank God I said that and not minge. Jesus. This is getting edited.
Oh, one track mind.
Coyotes with mange.
Now I'm gonna say it. My brain is like, oh,
it's such a hard word when you've got it in your mind already, and you're like, yeah. They've got a skin condition, these coyotes, and causes them to be hairless. I don't even know. It's just double entendres everywhere now. Right.
Oh, it's like Bridget Jones, isn't it? Where she's trying her hardest to call Mr. Fitzherbert Mr. Fitzherbert, but she can't stop thinking that it's Mr. Titspervert, Mr. Titspervert. It's like that, isn't it? Once it gets in your head, that's it. You can't not think about it.
Yeah, it's right. And relax, right. I feel like a goat now.
You fucking wish.
Yeah, I tell you, Jesus. I've not felt like a goat for 10 years.
Need to get yourself to Puerto Rico. Oh, Lordy. God. I need a drink.
Right, yeah.
So 2 disproven cryptids then?
Yeah, neither of them exist.
So what are we doing next week then?
We are talking about the paranormal. Indeed, that do-do-do music.
Yeah.
And what will you be talking about?
I am going to be talking about one of my favourite paranormal stories that I actually only heard about recently, even though apparently it's been a thing for like forever. And it's the ghost of Flight 401.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting.
I've not heard about that.
It's good. It's good shit.
Good shit, yeah.
Yeah. What are you going to be doing?
I'm going to be talking about the Rendlesham Forest incident. Yeah, so talking about aliens and stuff.
All happens in Suffolk over here, doesn't it?
Well, I mean,
Suffolk and Cannock bloody chase.
That's
never how else happens anywhere.
Well, yeah, they tried to make it, but it's all disproved by us. See?
Well, yeah.
We're just too good at what we do. This is the problem.
That's exactly what it is. To be perfectly honest, by the end of next week's episode, probably the Rendlesham police are going to be ringing you and going, do you have any idea what you've done to our tourist industry right now?
Oh,
ruined it.
God. Well, I mean, at least we've helped Puerto Rico's tourist industry on this episode, because all them sex tourists will be flying over there right now. Pushing them goats
asking
out the way.
Yes, asking the goats where the best blowies are.
Where's the good stuff around here?
You're welcome, Puerto Rico.
Yeah, and on
like
that
and subscribe.
Bombshell. Yeah. Yeah, it helps the algorithm. On that bombshell. Thank you all so much for joining us today, and we shall hopefully see you next time. I have been Contumacious Anne.
And I have been Atreya.
Thank you so much.
The MO
Bye.
The MO Podcast. The MO Podcast. The MO Podcast.